During the past few months, being able to go out for a walk has really helped many of us get through these uncertain times. I've loved exploring the country lanes just outside of Wisbech, and most days I would come home with a little something, a wildflower, an interesting shell or a pebble. I'm going to show you how you can use these mementos from a walk to create impressions in clay, which can then be used to make a wall plaque, a set of coasters or a small dish. There's lots of possibilities. I'm going to start by flattening the clay. I'm doing this by hitting it a few times onto my work surface. I've then got a rolling pin and two guides. The guides are equal thickness to help keep my slab even. I'm turning my clay so to create a circle, but you can continue doing it in one direction to create a longer shape. I'm using a selection of grasses from my last walk. I'm just having to play with the position, different grasses and different textures until I get to something I'm happy with. Then I'll use a piece of card over the top and roll over top of that, and that will really press the grasses into the clay. And then I'm going to peel them out of the clay. The dry bits might be a little bit harder, they might leave little bits in the clay. I'm firing my clay, so that will just burn straight off. But if you are using air dry clay or something similar, you might want to try and really carefully peel those out, or wait until it's a bit drier and use a soft brush to get them out. Then I'm looking for some interesting areas. I'm going to make some coasters. I've picked up a circle. I'm just using a pointy tool just to cut the clay. Clay is super easy to cut, so it doesn't have to be sharp. And taking them out, I just neaten the edges up a little bit using my finger. Maybe a little bit of water if I need to. I'm just trying to make that edge nice and smooth. I'm going to try some smaller cutters. These are just like biscuit cutters, just to get some extra out of this clay. This little oval is great for pendants. Well, I'm just going to use an old straw to create a hole at the top. Once you finish, you're going to want to let the clay completely dry. I'm going to fire mine in the kiln. And then using acrylic paints, I'm taking just a little bit of acrylic paint and using water with it. So I've really watered it down like watercolour. The clay is really porous, so it really absorbs the paint. I'm doing thin layers because I feel it creates quite interesting colours when they're layered over each other. When I've added a thin layer, I'm going to use pure acrylic paint this time. I'm just going to pop it into the impression. Then I'm using a slightly damp sponge to wipe off as much as I can from the surface. Using a dark colour over the light gives a good effect here. So it really brings out the textures. And once I've done that, I'm going to sort of just add a little bit more colour, deepen that yellow in the background, add another layer. The great thing with acrylics is once they're dry, you will be adding on to that layer, you won't affect the first layer. You can blend colours together though while it is still wet. I've used this technique on all the coasters and other impressions I've made in the clay. So why don't you have a go at pressing some of your walk mementos into clay also.